In this video, I put together a whole bunch of Saturday morning TV goofs from yesterday. So stay tuned for the bizarre, the unusual, the Saturday morning goof.
We had a cave-in! Can you get us out?
Almost immediately. Don't move.
For some strange reason in this episode from the new Scooby Doo Movies from the 1970s, Fred seems to be disappearing, and it's not part of the show. Wonderbug ran between 1976 through 1978. It was a segment of the Croft Super Show. It also featured Electra Woman and Dinah Girl, Bigfoot and Wild Boy, and Magic Mongo. Thanks to a magic horn of unknown origins, the old car can turn into a super car. Wonderbug was self-aware and spoke in mumbled jargon that only Barry could understand.
What's Slipknot saying, Barry?
It's nothing.
I hope he doesn't pop a piston.
Now it's time to look at some funny goofs. Whether they are intentional or not, I'll let you be the judge. There were two types of Wonderbugs used for flying scenes. For close-ups, they used a real car, which if you look closely, you can tell that the tires are slightly depressed, a little bit flattened at the bottom, as if they were still sitting on the ground. Still, that's the most realistic flying scene I think that they had. Then there's the extreme aerodynamic shots where they use a toy Wonderbug. They work fine when it's just Wonderbug, but it's kind of weird when the gang's in the car. For those shots, they actually turn into dolls. They did the same trick with Wonder Woman in her invisible plane in the 70s.
This is what CC calls heading them off at the pass.
In some scenes, they would use a puppet to make Wonderbug more animated, which worked okay sometimes and other times not so much. Personally, I like it best when they stuck to the real car, at least most of the time. I might have thought differently when I was a kid, but I honestly don't remember my thinking back then, other than freaking out if I missed an episode. In the episode Schleppnacht, a man is robbed and it's up to Wonderbug and the gang to get the crook. But to me, the goof here is the surprisingly slow speed that the crook is running. I mean, if you're going to be a crook, or shouldn't you be able to run fast enough to get away? I don't know, maybe this guy was a smoker.
Stop it with the super slippery sliding stuff.
Well, I guess the lesson was that crime doesn't pay, especially if you're a slow runner. In this scene where Wonderbug catches the crooks with his seatbelts, I'm pretty sure the bad guys actually clamped the seatbelts together themselves. Well, this is how they usually spell schlepp. In this pic from the intro, it looks like they left out the C. I wonder, maybe they just couldn't make up their mind quite how to spell it. Monster Squad aired Saturday mornings on NBC from September 11, 1976 to September 3rd, 1977. Monster Squad featured a sort of comedic superhero team of monsters that do good deeds and fight bad guys in order to make up for the misdeeds of their past. The monster heroes included Dracula, Wolfman, and the Frankenstein's monster. According to the show, Walt, a criminology student who was also a night watchman at a wax museum, built a crime computer that somehow brought to life wax statues of the legendary monsters. In the show, the monsters all seem to have the memories of the real monsters, which leads you to believe that somehow they are the real deal that's been brought back to life. Now, the Wolfman called the werewolf in the intro,
That also, I have a gun
That won't stop me.
with silver bullets.
That will stop me.
went by the name of Bruce W. Wolf. He was played by Buck Cartalian. Most likely due to copyright reasons, they may have not realized at the beginning of production. The Wolfman's name on his plaque changed several times. It went from Wolfman as one word to Wolfman as two words, and also as just werewolf. The really strange thing is, though, is how that within the same introduction scene, the titles of the monsters change from being painted onto their pedestals to being posted signs.
Come on, you guys. Work time.
Oh, and also likely due to copyright reasons, Frankenstein's bolts were on top of his head instead of in his neck. In the episode The Joyriders, a group of teens steal a car, and it's up to Captain Marvel to save the day.
Holy moly! They better be stopped before someone's hurt. Shazam!
So while Captain Marvel is flying in the air looking for these kids, the kids are flying down the road like maniacs. Or are they?
Slow down, Mike.
Yeah, Mike, you're totally going way too fast, dude. So if you notice the, what looks like to be a blanket that's blocking the back window, the reason why they did that, of course, is because the car is actually not moving. They're just bouncing it up and down, and they're trying to block that fact from you. Now look to your far right, to the top of the car, and you'll see what looks to be a parked car and a couple of stationary poles. Now whoever's driving this car in reality heads to the junkyard, driving like a maniac, and Captain Marvel is right behind him. Keep in mind, there are 4 teenage criminals here. Now see if you can spot the goof in this next scene. Well, actually there's 2. Or maybe it's more like a magic trick. Okay, just in case you missed it, let's try it one more time to see what kind of mean tricks they played on us as kids. Okay, now keep your eye on the driver. Did you see him dunk down? So remember, we've got 4 crooked teenagers coming out of that car. 4 people ought to be coming out. Well, there's 2. There's the 3rd one. That 4th one just came out of nowhere. You see his arm? Kind of makes you question reality itself, doesn't it? Now Captain Marvel is going to get a good look at that car because he knows there's something weird going on here. You know, you have to wonder if there is not some real life magic going on in this show. See if you can spot this goof, or is it a goof?
Well, that's great.
Did you catch that? Billy Batson's sitting there playing his guitar, and then all of a sudden the guitar just changes into another guitar, right in front of our faces. And this happened on the episode Doom Buggy. In the episode The Delinquent, Captain Marvel has to save this kid from drowning. Well, actually this kid. That's Jackie Earl Haley, who goes on to play in the Bad News Bears and TV shows like Human Target and that movie. What was the name of that movie again? The Watchmen. Yeah. As Captain Marvel is flying in to save Jackie Earl Haley, let's see if you can figure out what the goof is. No, I'm not talking about the fact that Captain Marvel could fly the kid back safely without going through the water. I mean, they had a limited budget, so we'll overlook that. But what is going on here? If you look carefully at Captain Marvel's hand that's sticking out of the water just a bit, it appears as he's got a hold of something that's dragging him across the water. And of course, if you watch the whole series or have watched the whole series, you'll notice that Captain Marvel, anytime when he gets around water, instead of flying around, he gets in the water and he shoots through the water. Which, you know, the show had a lot of great flying scenes, I mean, for a 70s Saturday morning TV show. But you have to remember that they had a limited budget and limited time. So they probably just went with the easiest route possible. And that's why, thus the being dragged across the water and still flying over it. Oh, and one more thing. It looks like Jackie Earl Haley has been replaced by a dummy in this particular scene. See if you notice this next goof from The Gang's All Here.
They're coming back.
I can't undo this.
Get out of here.
But I can't just leave you here.
Well, technically, he could get up and walk and follow you out.
Get out of here.
Okay, now see if you notice this next goof.
Shazam!
Did you catch it?
Get out of here. Shazam!
It appears in the transformation sequence that the ropes have been burned off, so there's no need for Captain Marvel to break them.
You dig?
This next one's pretty easy to spot. I think even on a black and white television getting reception from an antenna, without HD or anything else way back in the 70s, I think you'd probably be able to see this. I mean, the rest of it looks pretty good up until you get to this point. It looks like Captain Marvel's either turned into one of those Mego action figures I used to play with, or maybe he's turned into one of the balloon people from the first season of the Super Friends. I'm not sure, but I think Captain Marvel's passed out from all that heavy lifting.
Holy moly!
Later in the episode, Captain Marvel needs the help of Isis to save the young couple from the airplane incident from a forest fire. See if you notice these very small goofs. First, Captain Marvel puts the young couple into some water, because there's fire around, which is a smart thing to do. Now Isis does her magical thing, which makes it rain. So the couple is sitting in water, and now it's raining on top of them, at least for a few seconds anyway. And so Isis comes in for a landing to greet Captain Marvel and his two young friends.
Welcome, Isis.
Yes, welcome, Isis.
Do you see anything off yet? But wait, there's a couple of more things that you should look for.
Yes, thank you, Isis. Thank you very much.
That goes double for me.
Boy, those kids sure did get dirty.
I think I've learned something very important. If a man like Captain Marvel can accept help, I sure can.
So did you catch all that? The first thing is, despite having sat in water and being rained on, the kids are perfectly dry. Now, giving them the benefit of the doubt, perhaps some time has passed, but it doesn't appear so. Now, their faces seem remarkably clean from one angle to the next. Now, of course, it could be because it's a different angle, somehow we're not seeing the dirt, but these two shots were definitely taken at different times, because if you'll notice, the girl's hair is, sometimes it's in front of her shoulder, and other times it's behind her shoulder. Now, none of that messes up the episode at all, of course, but I really am wondering how those kids got dry so fast in the context of the story. The episode Bitter Herbs has a lot of great special effects for a Saturday morning show in the 70s, and it has a few misses and a few goofs. But it's like Michael Jordan said, you got to keep shooting and sometimes missing in order to score. You take this shot of Cap lifting the bad guy's truck. It looks awesome. But it defies the law of physics, right? I mean, if Cap is strong enough to hold the truck in the air by one end, he would have to be grabbing it, not simply having his hands in a lifting motion. And I don't think the end of the truck could support the weight of the entire truck, lifting it up in the air like this. And then when he sets it down, lifting from the middle, which makes better sense, the scene otherwise doesn't look as impressive anymore. Almost looks like Cap is walking back over the top of a pitcher. Now, did you catch the goof in this shot? So in this shot, of course, Captain Marvel's supposed to still be lifting the truck. You notice that one of his hands is actually empty. Yes, I know what you're thinking, that perhaps in the 70s, with the curvature of the screen of a television set back then, may not have been able to see this. Don't know. Very possible. But definitely see it now. It kind of looks like Captain Marvel's praying for rain or something, doesn't it?
I don't think so.
We'll return to Shazam after these messages.
Don't go anywhere yet. We've got the biggest Shazam Isis goof of the entire series. Both of them. Coming up. Hey, just want to let you guys know I am working on a cartoon for my Freddy Cat Cartoons channel. It's a work in progress. It's kind of based on the old Tex Avery Droopy Deputy cartoon.
And now, back to Shazam.
In the episode Finders Keepers, Isis and Shazam team up again, and this time some criminals run into a cave.
Don't go in.
But the tunnel may open up on the other side of the mountain. They'd get away.
I can't figure out why Isis doesn't want Captain Marvel to just go in there and get the crooks. I mean, maybe they're trying to teach kids to stay out of scary caves. I'm not sure what's going on here.
If you could loosen the ground, I could pull it out from under them.
It's worth a try.
Or you could just walk in there and get them.
Fiery powers in the Earth's core deep, arise and tremble beneath their feet.
All Jeannie had to do was blink, or Samantha had just had to twitch her nose to get things done. When I was a kid, I can't believe that I bought that Captain Marvel could shake the entire ground with that little bitty stick. But I did. Now here's the goof. Isis didn't just loosen up the ground, she turned it into carpet. Now when I was a kid, I was probably thinking, how do I do this trick when I'm playing in the dirt?
couldn't have done it without you, Isis.
My pleasure.
No, Cap, you couldn't have just walked in there and grabbed those two normal crooks. You know, I bet he was trying to butter Isis up so he could get a date with her.
See you soon.
You know, I don't think it worked. Well, now that we've found a few funny goofs here and there, I have to say, all in all, Shazam was one of my favorite series growing up. That and the 6 Million Dollar Man, Incredible Hulk, well, you know. But you have to appreciate how they always had a good common sense, down-to-earth moral every episode.
Those who act dishonestly to win walk in disgrace. The honest way is the best way.
Today you found out that making one mistake isn't the end of the world.
The important thing about a person is not the color of his hair or skin, his religion, or whether he's tall or short, skinny or fat. What is important is something called character.
I must have watched the 1982 Incredible Hulk cartoon show on NBC, all 13 episodes, at least 300 million times. It was a great series, but it did have one famous issue, and that whenever the Hulk changed back to Banner, his clothes would amazingly reappear. Perhaps it was just to save time explaining how Banner found new clothes in the middle of nowhere, or save him from having to explain why he didn't have a shirt on to General Ross or Betty, and save us, the viewing audience, of wasted time that could have been better used for the Hulk smashing. In this video, we take a look at the Dukes animated series from 1983, a fun spin-off of the live-action Dukes of Hazzard TV series that was a top 10 smash up until John Schneider and Tom Wopat went on strike, that is. The cartoon had a storyline that never ended, filled with a few mind-blowing goofs and mysteries no one ever bothered to solve, or at least attempt to explain on the show. The Duke Boys and Daisy are on a race around the world to earn prize money to save the farm. And Boss Hogg and Roscoe are racing against him, so Boss can foreclose on the farm and win the prize money. But who is giving the prize money? There's no other racers, and there's no mention of exactly who is sponsoring the race. Was it just a bet between the Dukes and Boss Hogg? That can't be, really. I mean, the Dukes had no money. They needed the prize money just to save the farm. And then there's the mysterious disappearance of Coy and Vance Duke, voiced by the live-action TV Dukes at the time, Byron Cherry and Christopher Mayer. In 1983, when this cartoon came out, John Schneider and Tom Wopat were on strike for a bigger cut in all the profits the Dukes of Hazzard was generating. You know, all the toys, lunchboxes, posters, etc., etc. You know, as understandable as that might be, you know their leaving actually hurt the show to the point it most likely killed most of the profits that they were trying to take part in.
No.
Too bad they all couldn't come to an agreement, but that's another topic for another day. At any rate, Coy and Vance were the Dukes of the show at the time. Now, I hadn't seen this cartoon since I was a kid. I just recently bought the DVD set, and so I guess this was like the second time I watched it. The biggest laughs I got came from Boss and Roscoe, voiced by Sorrel Book and James Best. They brought the same hilarious fun they had on the live-action series to the cartoon, and then some.
The nerve of them Dukes sneaking up on us fair and square like that.
What's your firecracker for, boss? It's the 4th of July, right?
It's the middle of the winter, you dipstick. You know what you are? You're another Scrooge. You even sound like your name was Scrooge, and my name was Bob Scratchit. You mean Bob Cratchit? Him too.
But back to the Duke Boys. They just up and disappeared in Season 2 after Bo and Luke came back to the live-action series. At least on there, we had an explanation. We saw the old Dukes arrive in town, and Coy and Vance take off out of town. But in the cartoon, they were in the middle of a worldwide race. Right in the middle of it, and Coy and Vance just magically become Bo and Luke. I know they thought kids don't usually pay attention to plot details, but if two people magically become two other people, then kids notice. Believe me. I mean, I did. They could have said something, just some kind of explanation, but nope, nothing. To make matters worse, the start of the race is depicted in a new intro in the second season, and as the race starts, we see a sign that says, "Good luck to Bo, Luke, and Daisy." Did we start a new race? Is that the explanation? Then who won the last race? And if the Dukes won that race, the farm should be okay now, right? And if Boss won the last race, then Uncle Jesse would be homeless or paying extremely high rent to Boss. And as much fun as this show was at times, again mostly thanks to Roscoe and Boss Hogg, it would have been really nice to have an ending of some sort. But no, the race never ended officially. In fact, in one episode it looked like it might be getting near the end as they were released in America in the second to last episode when the Dukes were in Hollywood, but then they ended up in the Philippines on the last episode. Now, how do you drive from Hollywood to the Philippines anyway? You know, it ought to be a law for television. If you start a story, you have to end the story with one final episode. Well, at least the Dukes made me laugh. And the ending was less consequential because as the live-action series was still on, as a kid, you might automatically assume the Dukes won the race and kept the farm. But most series don't have another version of themselves to fall back on.
Jumpin' Jehoshaphat, it's a hornet's nest!
In the episode, Tales of the Vienna Hoods. Bo and Luke have replaced Coy and Vance, of course, in this season, but who keeps replacing them? Just in case you forgot, here's how they normally sound.
Let's make a break for it.
You got it.
There's these strange voices coming out of Bo and Luke that aren't them.
I wonder what those fellas are looking for.
This episode was worse than the Super Friends for voice goofs.
Maybe my transmission's slipping.
You're right, Daisy. Who's gonna pay to see a band with fellas that old?
What do you think's going on?
Beats me, but we better get out of here.
So that's why those fellas were following us. They were after Cindy Sue. It'd be nice to go see some entertainment Saturday night. If them famous musician fellers is playing anywhere near town.
Gotta work our way back to General Lee, then light the heck on out of here.
For the scoop, let's go back to 1971 on the Pebbles and Bamm-Bamm show. The only thing that threw me off was the fact that from 1971 onward, Bam Bam on any of the Saturday morning Flintstone shows was no longer super strong. That bugs me to this day. What happened to Bam Bam by his teenage years? He should have been as strong as Superman by now. He was stronger as a toddler than the teenage Bam Bam. Interestingly enough, there's an episode where Pebbles drinks a strength formula on the Pebbles and Bamm-Bamm show and gets the same level of strength you would have expected Bam Bam to have. Today I look at goofs from the 70s and early 80s classic Saturday morning TV show, The Super Friends. As cool as they were back then, they did have a few hilarious goofs that you just won't believe, unless of course you noticed them the first time around. So tell me in the comments if you've ever seen these crazy goofs before.
Something's overpowering my muscles. I can't seem to control them.
In the episode Super Friends vs. Super Friends, Aquaman has been captured. Or has he?
It's been over an hour and there's no sign of Aquaman or the diving bell. It's been over an hour and there's no sign of Aquaman or the diving bell.
The signal ring locator should spot him anywhere on Earth.
He's right there, for crying out loud.
Oh, radar screens. There's no sign of it.
Seriously, he's right there.
Aquaman's ring is either malfunctioning or something is trapping its beam.
How could you not see him?
We'll split up and search.
He was standing right next to you.
You two stay here. If you receive any message from Aquaman, contact us immediately.
Of course, they did find Aquaman later, but they lost Batman's original trunks somehow. And Batman got so upset by it that he gained weight and his logo turned into some sort of ink spot. And that's not the last time Batman's logo got out of whack.
Just taken over the SP oil reserves in Saudi Arabia.
We've got to try to stop him. Come on. What in blazing kryptonite is happening here?
On a few occasions, Batman's voice, supplied by classic TV actor Olin Soul, could be heard coming out of the wrong Super Friend.
The Superman.
The creature must have escaped into the swamp. We've got to find it.
I'm on my way.
And sometimes, Superman's voice would come out of another Super Friend.
We'll split up and search for him.
Did you know that Danny Dark, the voice of Superman, was also the voice of NBC for several years?
The ghost of a past life revealed a shocking Pearl Harbor cover-up. Seinfeld, After Night Court, NBC Wednesday.
In the episode Vandals, starring the Wonder Twins, the beginning of the cartoon introduces us to some teenagers. One shot of the girl named Laurel is almost disturbing. Part of her body appears missing for a few seconds. You can see right through her. I don't know, maybe they just drew the fence over the seat and then just kind of created an optical illusion. I'm not sure about this one. Really weird. Everybody loves the challenge of the Super Friends. That's one of my favorites. But in the episode Rest in Peace, we're supposed to believe that Batman has been killed by the Legion of Doom. In the funeral scene, Robin's glove disappears and reappears a second later.
So long, old pal. We'll never forget you.
No, Robin.
Later in this episode, the Super Friends take refuge at a heavily guarded Marine base, where Batman is shown standing with the others, even though we the viewers are supposed to believe Batman's dead at this point, at least until the big reveal at the end.
We destroyed you all!
No, you didn't, Luthor.
At one point, Superman is thought to be killed, and his body is brought to the Marine base where Hawkman loses his pants, and Green Lantern is seen without his shirt on. Now, holy cow, what is going on here? This is a Saturday morning show, and wait, why is it that half the Super Friends don't wear pants anyway? Did the Legion of Doom rob them of half their clothing? But even Brainiac knows he needs some jeans or pants or something.
I just want some pants. A decent pair of pants.
Radios to 30,000 megacycles, and we'll triangulate.
And that's Black Vulcan. He's lost his sleeves from one scene to the next. I think Superman's trying to help him find them.
I've scanned millions of square miles and haven't found a thing.
If you thought the Super Friends goofs were mind-boggling, you ought to check out the goofs that happened when Batman teamed up with Scooby Doo.
See anything?
There were 2 Batman meets Scooby Doo episodes created for the 70s series, The New Scooby Doo Movies. For some reason in both episodes, Batman's neck is exposed in a way that Batman never has been seen before or after that I know of. But in one scene, they actually got it right and colored in Batman's neck. And then sometimes they forgot Robin's insignia.
Amazing, Batman. Absolutely mind-boggling. There must be an explanation.
In one scene, the Mystery Machine's name is backwards. Batman's gloves disappear and reappear a second later.
He's not in the next aisle. See anything?
At this point, you have to wonder if they are messing with us or if this is some sort of test. I'm just not sure.
Those devious devils.
It's like, how many things can you spot that are wrong in this one picture?
See anything?
I mean, first of all, Batman has no glove, which, I mean, I could see they maybe forgot to draw the glove, but then he's got this ring on his finger, which makes no sense. And of course, he has no Batman insignia as well.
Amazing, Batman. Absolutely mind-boggling. There must be an explanation.
Robin, this could be a case of group hypnosis.
Next, we have a mystery that's almost as bad as the time that the Super Friends lost Aquaman in the Hall of Justice.
Shaggy?
Scooby Doo, where are you? Where do you think they could have gone?
Who knows?
I think I just solved this mystery. There's Shaggy, and Scooby must be in the back.
Fred! Daphne! Velma! Wait up!
I don't know about you, but my mind is blown.
There's something fishy about this.
Precisely, Robin.
This isn't the only time they've done this.
Velma's disappeared.
I'm gonna disappear too!
Back here, we've got to find that girl.
Come on, spread out. Let's find her. Come on, spread out. Let's find her.
I sure hope they can find Velma. You know, these are some detectives and mystery solvers. Batman can't even keep track of his pants.
And when those poor, deluded villains arrive, they'll find a reception committee waiting for them. Us.
Well, I know I'd definitely run the other way if I saw those two coming.
Here goes!
Didn't the Penguin just throw his umbrella into the Batman balloon?
Uh-oh! Yikes!
But if you're a fan of animation and you like family-friendly yet very funny cartoons, then check out my Frady Cat Cartoons channel. I've got a lot of cool stuff there you might like. Well, that's it. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit like, comment, let me know what you think about the videos, and hit the bell, because if you hit the bell, you're less likely to miss a new video. Thanks, and have a great day.
Let's get out of here!